Everything that could have went wrong with the trip went wrong. Majority of his friends were women. We're about to get into the blow up. So, oh my goodness, y'all. Oh my gosh. Welcome to Diamond Victoria Glimmers. Make sure while you're here, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell because you definitely don't want to miss these videos. After you subscribe, make sure you go ahead and comment a red heart below because once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I am doing a nice giveaway and you don't want to miss that, okay? Trust me, you don't want to miss that. I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into it. After the trip is over, y'all are over, okay? Well, let's back it up a little bit. Let's back it up. So at the time, Hinge wasn't really hitting back then for me. And so I went on Bumble and I was like, let me see what's on Bumble. Cause I didn't care for using Bumble because I didn't like, if you know about Bumble, you have to, as a woman, you have to reach out to the guys first. The men cannot talk to you unless you reach out to them. And so I wasn't really into that. Bestie, she was like, girl, why don't you get on Bumble? Because her sister and her sister's man met on Bumble and, you know, they're still together to this day. And so I was like, oh, wow, okay, you know, maybe it works. So I went on Bumble and lo and behold, I saw his profile pop up. He was on there too. So I was like, you know what? I remember him on Hinge. Let me just send him a message. Let me just see what he's about. So I sent him a message and we started talking. And didn't take long. We went on a first date and then we moved really, really fast, y'all. Like, I would say we went on our first date and within 2 or 3 weeks, I met some of his closest friends. And I've never moved on that pace with men. But I mean, me and him were like talking a lot. We were seeing each other a lot. So I was like, you know, what's the harm with going with him to meet his friends, you know, for some drinks one night. So I was like, sure, why not? So things were going really, really well. And I was like, okay, like, I was like, you know, this is a cool guy. Like, okay, cool. So it didn't take long before we entered into a relationship. And I met his friends that night for drinks. They seemed pretty cool. All of his friends were, well, not all of his friends were women, but majority of his friends were women. So when I met his friends that night, it was all, you know, his female friends. And not gonna lie, that's not something I'm used to. I'm not used to being with a man whose main friend group is women, but his field, you know, there were a lot more women in his field. So I understood, coming from a healthcare world, you know, myself, I understood, like, you know, his area that he was gonna be around a lot of women anyway. So I didn't really trip about that, right? So I met his friends and the woman that was going to be his roommate, you know, she asked me, she was like, cause his birthday was coming up and she asked me, she was like, are you gonna go on his birthday trip to the beach? And I was, in my head, I was like, cause his birthday trip was like a month after this. Me and him had only been seeing each other for like a few weeks at this time. Y'all, I know this sounds crazy as hell, but look, I was like 20, I'm not trying to use the young and dumb, but I was young and dumb, okay? Looking back after it happened, I was like, oh, what the hell? What was I thinking? What was I thinking? But stay with me, stay with me. So it had been only like a few weeks of us getting to know each other. And then that night when we went for drinks with his friends, his future roommate was asking me, am I going on his birthday trip? So I was just sitting there with him. We had had a few drinks by this time. And he says to her, he's like, he looks at me and he's like, yeah, she's going. Me and him had not talked about this before. So I was like, oh, okay, so he wants me to go on his trip. Okay. I mean, he had mentioned that he was going on a beach trip for his birthday that following month, but I was not thinking because it was so soon. I didn't think I was really gonna go. Like I mean, I guess sometimes when people mention stuff, they'll mention it because they want to invite you. But then I thought at some point, like, he's just mentioning it because he's just letting me know, you know, like a need to know type of thing, not a I'm inviting you type of thing. But that night he was like, yeah, she's gonna go. So me and him talked about it later and I was like, you know what, I'll go, you know, because why not? Like, things are going really well. It's going to be, you know, his friends are all going to be there. So it's not like it's just me and him. So I was like, you know, why not? You know, I can meet his friends, his other friends. You know, he had sent me like the beach house they were going to. I was like, oh, this would be really cool. Like, this would be a cool experience and stuff like that. And I was like excited, right? So fast forward around this time, because, you know, 2020 happened. We didn't get, like, my school, UNC, they didn't have, of course, an in-person graduation ceremony. So my school decided to, you know, do an in-person graduation ceremony for the class of 2020. Whoop, whoop. And so I decided to go, and I had invited him. Of course, you know, my parents are there. I was like, you know, why not? I had met his dad at this point. I mean, it was like moving warp speed, y'all. It was moving so fast. Met his little brother, his older brother at this point. And so I was like, okay, you know what? Since I'm going on a trip with you, which was literally the next day after my graduation ceremony, I was like, why don't you come to my graduation and, you know, you'll meet my parents and stuff. So he was like, yeah, cool. He was all for it. So fast forward, my graduation ceremony happens. But before that, I don't know what it was. It was the weirdest thing. Like, me and him were like in a good place before the birthday trip, his birthday trip. But I just started feeling like funny about us. And like, I never even asked him why, but I kind of felt him pulling back like the week preceding his birthday trip. I don't know what it was, but at the time, I was the type of woman, I was like the type of woman that would, I would see things, but I didn't, how do I put it? I saw the signs, but like of us not being compatible, but I was like, damn, we're having such a great time. I just chose to ignore it, right? Even though I kind of felt him pulling back a little bit, and I kind of felt like this may not go somewhere, but I decided to push those feelings to the side because we started having more conversations and stuff like that. And I don't know what it was. It was kind of like, I felt like he was kind of getting bored. Like, I felt like and I felt it too. Like, I felt like we were going so fast that we didn't really have, like, we kind of burnt out, if that makes any sense. Like, our flame was burning quickly because it went so quick. Like, our relationship timeline just like was true. Meets my parents. He's like texting me during my graduation ceremony, like before I'm getting up to the stage, before they call like my group or whatever for us to walk across the stage. He's like texting me like, you ready to go? Like, I hadn't even walked across the stage yet. And he was like, I'm not really feeling this, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, in my mind, like, damn, like, this is my graduation day. And like, you're making it about you. Like, I didn't like that. It was stuff like that. I was like, I kind of can see, not that he's a bad person. I don't think he's a bad person. I think he's a good guy. But he was just like showing selfish tendencies. And not just with that, but like, I started seeing things like, I didn't see anything for the 2 months that we were like together. But that week, like that week of, because we went on a beach trip that Friday and my graduation ceremony was that Thursday. Like, for some reason, like that entire week, it was just like we weren't connecting. And I started seeing things I didn't really care for. And he started seeing things, I guess, in me that he didn't prefer, right? Like our communication styles, that type of thing. Like, it's just so weird how like everything was just revealing itself that week about me and him and like where this was going. So he meets my parents. Afterwards, you know, he leaves and I'm riding back with my dad and my mom to my parents. I was like, what did y'all think about him? And my mom was like, oh, he's cool. And then my dad was like, I don't want to upset you, but I don't really think he's for you. And he was like, I think he's a good guy. He was like, I just don't think he's the guy for you. And I was like, really? And my heart like sank, my stomach dropped because I kind of was feeling that way that week. But I didn't want to like my dad, not that I needed his validation, but he kind of validated because he didn't just say, I'm not really feeling him for you. He gave me like legit reasons of why he wasn't feeling it, you know, like feeling or seeing that connection between me and him. And so I was like, oh, okay. Like, you know. So I was like, oh wow. So at the time I didn't say anything, but then I was like thinking in my mind, like, maybe my dad's right. Get to the house, my mom is like, you know, I'm just gonna be real with you. I know I didn't say anything in the car. She was like, but I agree with your dad. Like, I don't really think y'all are a good fit. She was like, I thought y'all were a good fit based off of the things you were telling me, which were true things. But she was like, just seeing how, you know, y'all interacted at the graduation ceremony, all of that. She was like, I just don't think y'all are a good fit for each other. Like, cause she was like, I feel like, cause I'm more of an introvert person and he was extremely extroverted. My mom was like, just with him being like very extroverted and very like, just that type of person. She was like, I just don't think that's gonna work because that's just not you. And I was like, well, mom, opposites attract. I was trying to like justify that. And she was like, I understand opposites attract. She was like, but in this case, y'all are just too different. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I started packing. My mom was like, are you sure you want to go on this trip? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna still go because I told him I was gonna go. And he was like texting me. He was like, hey, go ahead. Like, are you going ahead and packing tonight? Because I'm gonna be over there by you early in the morning and we're gonna head out. And I was like, yeah, because he was driving his, he was gonna drive. So it would be just me and him. Because at first he had told me, or he had asked me because, and I forgot to say this in the beginning of the video. So I'm someone that suffers with social anxiety. It's gotten a lot better, but still, like at this time in 2021, especially after what happened in 2020, like I wasn't as social as I would have liked to have been. Like I had to really work on that, right? So he had asked me, he was like, are you going to be okay with his two closest friends, the women that I had met that night for drinks? He was like, are you okay with them riding with us or do you want us to ride separately? And I was like, you know, I prefer us to ride separately, you know. And he was like, oh, okay. He said okay, but I don't think that was one of the things I think he didn't like, because he started mentioning like his ex-girlfriend wasn't very social and like she loved spending time with just him. She didn't like spending time with him and his entourage. And like I said, he's extremely extroverted. He wanted someone that was going to be like, invite your friends over every night. Like that's the type of thing he was into. And I was more so of, I just want to spend time one-on-one with you. You know, like I was on that type of, especially with us still being new, I was on that type of time and he was on group interaction type of time, which I went with it, but it's just not really who I am, you know. That night, that Thursday after graduation ceremony, I was like kind of on the fence. I was like, I don't know, should I go on this beach trip? I was kind of like, and it's funny, it's so funny, he didn't say anything, even though looking back I think he felt it too, our energy changing, but he didn't admit it and I didn't admit it. But I think we were thinking the same thing. We just wouldn't admit it to each other. I started like having doubts that Thursday night, but I was like, you know, I already committed to it. I'm just gonna go. And I was like, maybe this is what we need to like connect. Like maybe this is a good thing. And so that night I had a bad dream. Everything that could have went wrong with the trip went wrong in this dream. And then I woke up Friday morning and I was like, I felt weird in my spirit, right? Because of that dream. I was like, So I already was feeling like kind of weird, but I was like, I was just lying to myself. I was like, it was just a dream. I'm tripping. It's just a dream. As we're driving to Wilmington, we're getting into conversations and we're not agreeing in these conversations. Like the things he is saying, like, and we're getting into like scenario conversations. I think one of them, for example, was I said, because I was homeschooled partially, I said to him, I don't even know how we got on this. I said, you know, when I have children, I would like to homeschool, at least in their like beginning years. Like I would like to homeschool my child. And he said to me, oh, absolutely not. Like, absolutely, I don't believe in that. And I was like, well, I have a different perspective. Coming from someone that was homeschooled, like it benefited me. I said, but you know, I would like to homeschool my child. I said, but you know, if they decide later on they want to go to, you know, regular school, I'm not opposed to it, but I would like to try homeschooling, you know, when I have kids. And he was just like, oh my God, like absolutely not, with the F. Like he was like, it wasn't just like, oh, I don't agree with that. Like he was like getting upset. And I was like, damn, you better take it down a few notches. This is just like theoretical. And like he was getting upset about that. So that was kind of awkward. And then get to the beach house. It's a beautiful, gorgeous beach house. His first friend arrives. Me and her, we hit it off immediately. I'm like, okay, phew. Like, okay, I like her. They start rolling in. It was like 10 or 12 of his friends. Like literally, it was like, I want to say it was like 10. The one that was his future roommate, the one that asked me when we went for drinks, am I going on the trip? I don't know what it was, but her and I just, her energy was so off to me. And I'm not throwing shade, but like I would try to talk to her on this trip to the grocery store together. Him and one of his other friends like went somewhere else, like in the grocery store, and it was just me and her standing at like in the freezer aisle. And like I was trying to talk to her, like being myself, like, hey, how you doing? Like, how was your drive up here? And she was just like, it was good. It was like, what are you excited about this weekend? Like, what are you looking for us to do? Like, do you have anything in mind? Like any activities you're excited about us doing? And she's just like not saying anything. And I was like, did she hear? Like in my head, I was like, did she hear me? And she's like, not even smiling, like. And then when him and his other friend, because let me say names. So let's call him, I'm so late in this. Let's call him Drew. Let's call his future roommate Brittany. And then the other girl, let's call her Ashley. So Drew and Ashley came back, and then Brittany like just she just like her whole energy shifted. And I was like, I'm trying to get to know you. I'm thinking me and Drew in this moment, like I'm thinking me and Drew gonna be together. And I knew that him and Brittany were moving in together like a few weeks from this. I wanted to get along with Brittany because I was like, when I'm going to Drew's place, I'm gonna see her a lot. So I was like, me and her getting along is important because I'm gonna be seeing her. So she was just not feeling it. She just like, like her communication was just like, she shut down when it was just me and her. And then when Drew and Ashley came back over, she was just herself, And I was like, maybe she has social anxiety too, maybe she's just like anxious or something like that. But she wasn't acting the way she acted the night that me and him met her and Ashley for drinks. Like she completely did a 180. Because when we met for drinks, I was thinking, oh, she's a cool person. Like me and her gonna get along. But then for some reason, she was just so like cold that weekend. I don't know. Saturday comes. And so I'm thinking, even though I knew, I'm gonna be real with y'all, I know it was his birthday trip and his friends were coming and he was excited. But I was thinking, he would take some time with me. I spent more time with his other friend that I clicked with, that I told y'all about. I spent more time with her and one of his best guy friends. Like his best guy friend, and then his other female friend. Like we stuck together pretty much the whole trip. His friend, Brittany, is making the house breakfast. And maybe this was selfish of me, okay? But I didn't want what she was cooking. I'm just gonna keep it real. So like I told y'all, me and Drew came together. So I told Drew, hey, I'm gonna order some food. They had these peach pancakes. It was like these cinnamon, it was just, y'all, that food was banging. I might have a video. That food, I'm just gonna cut to chase. The food was banging once I got it. But he came into the room, Drew, and he was like, hey, I'm going to go up there because the kitchen was upstairs. Brittany is cooking. I was like, I'm not really feeling that, what she's cooking. I said, plus, I didn't say this to him. I was like, she was acting funny, so I don't want her food. That's what I was thinking. I told him, I'm going to order Uber Eats or something like that. He was like, they're not going to be able to get over here because, like, all of their cars and stuff. He was saying, I was like, well, I didn't drive here. I don't have a car to go grab the food. I would go grab it myself. He was like, I'm going to grab it. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't mind. And he was like, yeah, I'll just go grab it. He had closed the door, but the walls were thin. So I heard him talking to his, the guy friend. He was talking to him outside the door. And I heard him say something to the effect of, "That's so selfish." Like, he was just going in. And I was like, maybe he's talking about something else. But the more he kept talking, I was like, I think he's talking about me. And I was like, So then he comes back in the room and I'm like, "Are you okay? Like, did I upset you or something?" He's like, "No, I'm gonna go grab your food." And then he closes the door and he leaves. And I was like, "I didn't tell you had to go grab it. Like, I told you I would just Uber it, like Uber Eats it here or DoorDash it here. Like, it ain't that serious." I was upset that I didn't want to eat Brittany's food. That's what it was. It wasn't that he was upset that he had to go, that he was going out to get it. He was upset that I didn't want to eat Brittany's food. But Ashley and Brittany and the other friend that I was close to, I'm gonna call her Joan. Ashley, Brittany, and Joan, the one that I got along with, they arrived first. Joan wanted to go and be on the beach immediately. But me, Drew, Ashley, and Brittany, we were hungry. So we went to this little eatery after we went grocery shop. And she was just acting like kind of strange. I think Drew even said to her, like, you good or something like that towards her. And she was just acting like, I don't know what it was. I don't know. She was just acting weird. But Drew just acted like it was no biggie. Like, he just, when I talked to him about it, he was just like, okay with it, I guess. I don't know. I was just like, this is, like, at the time, I'm like, I'm your girlfriend, supposed to be your girlfriend, and your future roommate slash bestie is tripping. You need to get that in line. Like, that's how I was looking at it. Okay, when we got into the blow up, child, we get into that. We're about to get into the blow up. So, my goodness, y'all. Oh my gosh. And like I said, I wasn't really spending time with Drew. I think Joan and his best guy friend, they said to me on the beach, when we were on the beach, they were like, and Joan was like, "Wow." She said something to the effect of, "You would think I'm going to call his best guy friend Jared." So Joan says, while we're sitting on the beach, so we all go to the beach, like him, Drew, and all his friends and myself, we all go to the beach. So Joan, myself, and Jared are sitting together and we're watching Drew, Ashley, and Brittany play on the beach. Like, they were making like sandcastles. They were running in and out the beach water. I was sitting back watching, whatever. And Joan says to me, "Damn, you would think Jared is your man." And Jared was like, "Hey," which I could understand that made him feel uncomfortable, because like, that's his best friend that you're talking about. But Joan was like, "You would think Jared is your man and not Drew." Drew was over there picking up Brittany, building sandcastles with her. He never came over and was like, "Hey, you wanna build sandcastle with us?" Or, because I felt weird, I would have interjected myself, but it felt weird because of Brittany's energy. Like, she was just so off. But he doesn't come and check in. Like, we were on the beach for like hours. I was starting to feel some type of way. But he was not, girl, child, no. Okay, and I'm not used to that. I don't like that. Everyone else on the trip, I got along with. Like, that's what's weird. Like, everyone else on the trip, I bleeped with. Like, I liked them. I just could not get with this Brittany girl. Her energy was so loud, I couldn't ignore it. I'm just gonna keep it real. But like I said, I mean, I've grown a lot since then, okay? I've learned to ignore the bull crap, okay? The foolery. But at the time, I had not yet learned how to ignore the foolery. He comes into the room. He goes like, "Oh, you're up." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm awake now." Y'all, everyone around the table was like, looking like, that had to happen. I think it would have went on longer than it should have had it not.